Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, this bearish divergence is still playing out while Ethereum is breaking below short-term support, which I'll talk about later in the video, so definitely stick around. First of all, starting off on the daily Bitcoin chart, and right now the price of Bitcoin is clearly getting a rejection from this range of resistance in between 28,000 to 29.5k, as I have been warning about recently on the channel, because as I've been saying over the last 1 week or so, is that it is very unlikely we're going to see a breakout to the upside straight away on the first attempt, and instead it is much more likely that we're going to see either a rejection from this resistance on the first attempt, or at least a consolidation range before then breaking out later on, because usually when the price runs into significant resistance, we don't usually see a breakout on the first attempt. Kind of like this 25k resistance, we can clearly see a few attempts of a breakout first, which ended up failing, and we ended up seeing some short-term rejections before eventually breaking above the resistance later on another attempt. And now obviously, just because the price is getting a rejection from this resistance in between 28 to 29,000, this does not mean that the larger bullish trend is over as of right now here on the daily time frame. But what it does mean is that at least just in the short term, as in over the next few days, maybe even over the next few weeks, we're unlikely going to see a breakout above around 29 to 30,000, and instead, just in the short term, we're likely going to see a bit of a cool off from this bullish trend, basically a pause or a setback from the bullish trend before continuing the bullish trend later on, perhaps in a week or two from now. And now, if we do end up seeing a further pullback from this resistance, then in that case, I'll be watching this area of support in between 24 to 25k approximately. More specifically, 25.2k is where this support area starts based on previous resistance now acting as new support. Now, obviously, the Bitcoin price is not guaranteed to go back down to those prices, but I'm just saying if we do see a further pullback, we should be expecting a decent amount of support around that area. And now, if you're zooming into the shorter term, this right here is the 4-hour Bitcoin to US dollar chart, and obviously this bearish divergence is still playing out in the short term because we're still consistently seeing lower highs form in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI. And so this is of course a sign of weakness in the imminent short term, meaning we should not be expecting any significant bullish momentum just in the imminent short term, as I have been saying pretty much every day on this channel since right up here. So obviously this short-term bearish divergence aligns very well with the fact that the price is running into heavy resistance on the daily time frame, which are both pointing towards a bit of a short-term pause or cool off from the larger bullish trend here on the daily time frame. And now what's very interesting is if you're taking a look at the Bitcoin funding rates, in fact, if you take a look at the funding rates for all of these coins across all of these exchanges, we can see that a lot of these funding rates are now flipping into the negative. And in case you're new to all of this, negative funding rate basically means a lot of the market, a lot of the traders out there are trying to short Bitcoin and short these other coins that have negative funding rates, because basically the funding rates act as a balancing mechanism. So when a lot of the market goes short, they turn negative, and when a lot of the market longs these coins, then these funding rates go very far in the positive direction. And basically when the funding rates are positive, the long positions have to pay that rate to the short positions. But on the flip side, when the funding rates are negative, like right now, the short positions have to pay that as an extra fee to the long positions. So it incentivizes less short to be opened and more longs to be opened during these times, which is technically a good thing for the markets. And quite often when these funding rates are very negative, that can actually result in a short squeeze, which actually pumps the prices to the upside. But on the flip side, when these funding rates are extremely positive, that can result in a long squeeze, which can crash prices. So just to summarize what is happening here, once again, the majority of traders out there are piling into short positions, which are betting the price prices of crypto assets are going to the downside, and we can see that by funding rate turning negative, which basically means prices may not go too much further to the downside as what traders were originally expecting, because when you open a short position, the selling pressure is applied immediately. But now that a lot of shorts have been opened, when those shorts get closed, that actually adds buying pressure to the market. So once again, when shorts get opened, selling pressure is already applied immediately when that position is opened, but when it eventually gets closed, then buying pressure is added to the market, which pushes prices up. So basically, the further these funding rates go in the negative direction, the more bullish that is for markets, and the further they go in the positive direction, the more bearish that is for markets. But anyway, now getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this right here is the daily ETH to US dollar chart, and right now we can clearly see a rejection in the price of ETH from this area of resistance, which is sitting in between 1770 to 1820. And in fact, right now the price of ETH is running into this important area of support, which was previous resistance and should now be acting as support, which is sitting in between 1650 to 1.7k, once again acting as strong support on the daily time frame. And now, technically speaking, like I explained earlier in the video for Bitcoin, just because we're receiving a rejection from this resistance does not necessarily mean that this bullish trend on the daily time frame is completely over and we're about to crash into new lows. But what it does mean is that at least in the short term, we're likely going to see a further pause or correction from the larger bullish trend, potentially over the next few days, maybe even over the next few weeks, before eventually the bullish trend resumes later on, unless of course we see bearish confirmation signals of a trend reversal, which we have not seen as of right now. And now, if you're zooming into the shorter term, this right here is the 4-hour ETH to US dollar chart, and right now the price of ETH is attempting a break to the downside below this short-term area of support, which was sitting in between around 1710 to 1730 approximately. But right now, as of recording this video, the price of ETH once again has just broken below this support, but is now retesting this previous support. And if this acts as resistance and we actually get a rejection from around 1720 to 1730, then in that case, a rejection from this price area would now be considered bearish in the short term, and we would likely see a drop down towards around 1650 approximately, which is the lower side of this range of support that I just mentioned on the daily time frame. And now, if you're zooming back into the shorter term, if we actually see a confirmed break back above around 1730, then in that case, we would simply be breaking back into this choppy sideways price range. So anything above 1730 would be considered neutral in the short term. But if we confirm the rejection to the downside below 1730, then obviously that would be a short-term bearish signal, which would likely result in a further pullback just in the short term. But once again, this is considered a correction, at least as of right now, from the larger bullish trend. And now, if you want to know how to maximize your profits in crypto, no matter if the price is going to the upside, to the downside, or simply chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how to make money if the price is going either up or down, and the video in the bottom left shows you how to make money if the price is chopping around sideways. But anyway, that's everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.